Northern England, and this band of rain just affecting parts of Northern Ireland into the Midlands, the southeast as well. Some heavy downpours before a mix of sunny spells and blustery showers push into South Wales and the southwest of England. That develops more widely across the UK, so really it's a case of bright spells and heavy showers out there on Saturday afternoon. You certainly will need your umbrella at hand if you're heading out, even if it's sunny when you leave the house. But there will be some longer spells of rain, particularly for northwest England, southern Scotland, for example, even some thunderstorms out there. So an unpleasant day for many places, highs of 17 or 18 Celsius. Sunday starts off a little brighter and drier across England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland sees a band of rain push south. That breaks up to become more of a showery feature into the afternoon. And in between the showers, there will be some sunshine once again. A drying up trend then into Monday and Tuesday with fewer showers and a better chance of some sunshine.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're making this summer funner with 3 incredible prizes to be won. First, a fantastic £15,000 in tax-free cash that you can spend on anything you like. Next, there's the latest iPhone 15 with a brand new set of Apple AirPods. And finally, £500 to spend at the UK attraction of your choice. The summer fun could be on us. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 28th of June. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians in the media, but actually it's about you.
And we won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear
All sides.
as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's election channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's election channel.
And when the big stories break, we're tackling them on Britain's newsroom. When we disagree, and we disagree a lot, it's even livelier than normal.
We don't disagree that much.
We do. His comedy, though, is revolting. I knew her, and unlike you. That explains Beverly Turner's temperament.
It's a bit frosty in here, isn't it?
You'll have one of me one day.
Yeah, for dartball practice. Britain's newsroom on GB News. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's midday. Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. Are you comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister?
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained. I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Good evening from the world headquarters of GB News. This is Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. The weekend starts here, so bring your own drinks. The admission is free. On tonight's show, my reaction to all of the latest election highs and lows in my Friday feeling in just 2 minutes' time. Also, good news, Princess Kate gives us an update about her battle with cancer. For reaction, we'll be joined live in the studio by the Queen of US Royal Reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Also tonight, should Nigel Farage join the Sunak versus Starmer TV debate on the eve of the election? Should you reveal to your partner how you'll vote on July the 4th? And are weight loss injections a lazy shortcut? Plus, find out why skinny people are now paying for this jab and risking their lives. To fall out over all those topics and a lot more tonight, my Friday A-team. Former BBC local radio legend Alex Dyke, business guru Roger Gewolb, and fearless political commentator Reem Ibrahim. So my Friday feeling is on its way. Lots to get through. But first, the news headlines and Tatiana Sanchez.
Mark, thank you very much as always, and good evening. The top stories this hour. The Princess of Wales says she's making good progress after her cancer diagnosis, and she says that she will attend Trooping the Colour tomorrow. The update is accompanied by a new photograph of the princess taken by photographer Matt Porteous, which shows her near her home in Windsor. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says he's delighted that she's attending the event and that the whole country is behind her. Princess Kate also says she's been blown away by all of the kind messages of support, but that she's not out of the woods yet. Princess Catherine also says she hopes to join a few public engagements over the summer as she continues her treatment for a few more months, she says. In other news, Nigel Farage says Reform UK is now the opposition party after a poll put them 1% ahead of the Conservatives. YouGov says the close result represents a seismic shift in the voting landscape, but they also caution that Britain's voting system means Reform may still struggle to pick up any seats. Rishi Sunak has this evening said the only poll that matters is election day. Labour is still well ahead on 37%, down 1 point, while the Liberal Democrats also lost a point, scoring 14%, with the Greens on 7 points. Meanwhile, the Labour leader says he's willing to make enemies to make the UK economy grow. Earlier, the Labour Party announced specialist mental health hubs would be set up to help people get back to work. An extra 8,500 new staff recruited to boost access to mental health support and ultimately get the economy back on track. Now, in a sit-down interview with the BBC this evening, Sakir reaffirmed his position that the country under him would not go back to austerity. He says he's ready to make tough decisions to grow the economy.
It's going to have to be tough. We're going to have to change the way things are done. I'll give you one short example. I won't take long, but it makes my point. I spoke to the CEO of an energy company, say, how long would it take you to put a wind turbine farm up? He said I could do it in 2 years. He said you wouldn't get any power out of it for 13 years because I'd lose 5 years to planning, another 6 or 7 years before the grid connected. We cannot go on like that.
Let me give you another example.
The Prime Minister says the days today are more dangerous than they've ever been as he addressed a G7 summit in southern Italy this evening. Rishi Sunak also addressed illegal migration and said it's now a global emergency. It has been agreed at the summit that NATO is to have more control over the coordination of weapons for Ukraine. The US and Ukrainian presidents signed a 10-year security agreement at the summit last night, inching it closer towards membership of the alliance. It aims to guarantee support for Ukraine's war with Russia. Mr. Sunak said tonight Ukraine's security is our security.
We are in this for the long term. Putin will not outlast us. The UK has committed £3 billion of military aid every year to the end of the decade. We're dialing up the economic pressure on Russia with 50 new sanctions this week alone. And we've just announced over £240 million for reconstruction. But as I've long argued, Russia itself must pay for the destruction it has caused. And now, Russia will pay.
For the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning that QR code on your screen, or you can go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's over to Mark.
You couldn't say that Britain is gripped with election fever, could you? More election mild temperature and a slightly sore throat. It feels like a procession at the moment, with all of the parties going through the motions. If you polled them, much of the public would probably suggest we should give it to Labour already. so we can all get on with our summer holidays, get our bodies beach ready, dust off the tent for Glastonbury, the Pims for Wimbledon, and stock up on fridge packs of supermarket own brand lager for the Euros. But unfortunately, that pesky democracy has to be done properly, and we need the full 6-week campaign. And the Tories would argue that it's all still to play for. A chink of light for Rishi Sunak was Labour's manifesto launched this week, which outlines billions of pounds in extra tax, though Labour have been very clear that they will not tax income, national insurance or VAT to any higher extent, and they'll pay for a better Britain with economic growth, which sounds lovely, but as any football fan knows, it's the hope that kills you. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak has tried to rebuild the damage from his blink and you'll miss it appearance at the D-Day anniversary. This week, staying all day long at the G7 conference, although no doubt checking his watch and mindful of getting to the airport with enough time to pick up a couple of bottles of malt whiskey and a family pack of Benson and Hedges in duty-free. Yes, I know that Rishi Sunak doesn't smoke or drink, but frankly, given how the campaign has gone for him so far, now might be a good time to start. Meanwhile, the Lib Dem leader, Sir Ed Davey, continues the wild publicity stunts and photo opportunities. Who needs policies when you can gain millions of views on TikTok, effectively living out a midlife crisis? You have to say his antics, along with the moving interview about caring for his disabled son, seems to have rid Sir Ed Davey of the ghost of the post office scandal, demonstrating that the public have memories shorter than Tom Cruise's 501s. Rishi Sunak will have taken comfort from the Sky News leaders debate, in which Sir Keir Starmer was laughed at for once again reminding us that his father was indeed a toolmaker. In an interview with GB News, Keir Starmer managed to spin this as an individual laughing at the fact that his father had a simple job. Now, at best, this was spin, and at worst, deeply disingenuous, given the fact that it was a good portion of the audience who laughed, and they were amused not at Starmer Sr.'s occupation, but at his son's almost comical obsession with it. He's got toolmaker Tourette's syndrome. Meanwhile, the SNP and Plaid Cymru continue to make the case for independence. Sovereignty seems to be the big attractive sell, but the economic impact of splitting from the union is something about which both parties have fallen strangely quiet. The Greens are going to save the planet, which is great news, but their noticeably left-wing policy agenda certainly won't save our wallets. Meanwhile, in a watershed moment, Reform UK polled higher than the Conservatives this week, suggesting a public appetite for a more robust approach to immigration and the economy. Although Nigel Farage's strategy to become the main party of the right appears to involve delivering a Labour government for 5 or even 10 years, I'm not sure that will play well with some small C Conservative voters. With promises on pension, tax and immigration, perhaps Rishi Sunak is down, but not out. If it was a boxing match, yes, he's on the floor, but the referee hasn't reached 10 just yet. Whatever happens, we're going to see a lot more right hooks and left jabs being thrown, whilst the long-suffering British public are just punch-drunk. No one's been knocked out just yet, which is why on July the 4th, it could still go to a points decision. Reacting to that story and the big stories of the day, my Friday A-team, ex-BBC local radio legend Alex Dyke, business and geopolitics guru Roger Geetwold, and fearless political commentator Reem Ibrahim. Reem, good to see you.
Hello, good evening. How are you, Mark?
I'm very well. Who's won the election this week?
Absolutely, without a doubt, Nigel Farage. Now, I will say, you are right that Keir Starmer's father is most definitely a tool maker.
Now, don't be harsh.
What I will say is that...
Keir.
Sorry, I thought that was really funny. I'm never funny, Mark, and I thought that was hilarious.
I thought it worked for me.
But I think what's really interesting is that, of course, it's a huge watershed moment for the Reform Party to actually take over the Conservatives in the polls. Clearly, it's going to split the vote. And what's really interesting is the Conservatives, in a lot of their campaigns online, have been saying that a vote for Reform is a vote for Labour, effectively already giving up and effectively saying that they're going to lose. Nigel has now come back to that and said, actually, because we're ahead in the polls, a vote for the Conservatives is a vote for Labour. So things are really shifting on the right, and I do think it's interesting from that personality perspective.
Yes, I mean, Nigel's thrown his hat in the ring. He's now the leader of Reform UK. It does seem to have got people's pulses racing, Alex. But, I mean, do you take that poll seriously of Reform UK overtaking the Tories? Could that be writ large in the new House of Commons on the 5th of July?
Last time I was on your show, I said the polls mean nothing.
Yeah.
It's what happens on the night. And, of course, we all know that, really. But this is a very interesting headline. And Nigel now says, look, I could get 6 million votes. So who knows? I think this is a breath of fresh air. It's the only interesting thing in this election so far.
Yeah, I mean, Roger, do you think Nigel Farage has enough time to move the dial, to reshape the political map in the next few weeks?
Sure, absolutely. I think whoever gets in, the first thing they've got to do is get rid of first past the post, because we are in a terrible situation here. As one of my followers on social media posted to me the other day, our choice is between stepping in dog muck or cat muck.
Right.
I mean, it's a terrible situation. And yes, I think Nigel is doing splendidly, and I've told him so, and I think he can. I think that Labour, they're still talking about this Labour landslide, and yet, you know, I just see George Galloway, Jeremy Corbyn, and Nigel Farage making a hell of a hole in Labour. And the Tories.
Well, that's right. I mean, of course, Roger's heaping praise on Nigel Farage, but he's as disliked as he is liked in this country, as we saw again this week with a thug trying to throw concrete at him, Alex.
Yeah, but you're always going to get those people in elections or just generally in politics. Remember John Prescott, who actually ended up socking it to one of them,
somebody,
didn't he? Maybe Nigel should, be ready for him next time. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You are always going to get those idiots doing that. At the end of the day, it's politics. And whatever these politicians tell us, have you ever known a politician get voted in and be able to keep all their promises? It's never, ever happened. Ever. Because it's impossible to do. And it's like the public seem to forget that in the excitement, and there's not much excitement over this election race, but in the moment we seem to forget it and then seem to be disappointed afterwards. Well, they're never going to be able to deliver on all these promises.
Well, there's a lot of research that says that one of the reasons that politicians are so stupid sometimes and make so many mistakes is they actually dumb things down, because research has shown that voters don't like a lot of nuanced things. They want almost Alice in Wonderland. They want to be presented with easy binary decisions.
I think it's the nature of government. I think the nature of government is that effectively you're constrained by political incentives. It's the exact reason why the Conservative Party have effectively only come out with one flagship policy, and two, I would say, flagship policies: the National Service announcement for young people and the Triple Lock Plus, effectively extending the pension. Now, the reason why they're doing that is because older people vote Conservative. It's literally just genuine electioneering, and I think it's just the nature of government. No matter whether you think those are the right things to do or not, if you think those are your political priorities, the political priorities for politicians will always be to get and to keep their job.
Yes, I mean, they don't do long-term vision, do they? Because there's no incentive to do that. Is Britain a candidate for a benevolent dictatorship?
Dictatorship. I think that Roger is right. I think we need some electoral reform. Now, if we're in the position that the Reform UK party actually get more than 13-14% of the vote and return no members of parliament, I think it will really call into question, yet again, the electoral system. Now, I am old enough just about to remember the 2011 AV referendum, where voters were presented with the option to change first past the post and change the electoral system. I think that the dial has shifted slightly and people are now going to be more receptive to that.
Although, Roger, I mean, Britain has a history of strong government because of first past the post. And personally, I'd rather have a Labour government with a majority, a Conservative government with a majority. I'm concerned that if you have proportional representation, there will essentially be kind of centre-left social democracy forevermore.
You're out of date. That's how it was.
Only my hair.
Yeah, you're out of date. I mean, the Conservative Party has been in power, I can't remember what it is, however many years, longer
years?
than... Yeah, no.
Oh, in history.
Over history,
yeah.
You know, way more than a... But that was a different party. Those were different people. These people aren't conservatives. You can't put a highly taxed cigarette paper between these folks and Labour. And the Labour Party is also a different party. We just don't have the right people. We've got Ed Davey, who just, I mean, come on. You're going to come on to the question of whether Nigel should be in the debate. God, I hope so, because every debate I've watched, I get up, I go and wash my shirt, I come back, I turn off the telly, and then I spend the rest of the evening watching it dry. So of course, these people are awful. Okay?
None of them. I completely agree with Roger, and I think nobody, including Nigel, is actually offering anything substantial. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart.
Excuse me, Nigel is offering something that no one else will come out with. Richard Tice has mapped it all. I'm going to tell you, Richard Tice has mapped it all out. None of these fiscal geniuses, including our Chancellor, who hasn't worked in business, finance, or money one day in his life, are moving the thresholds.
Completely agree.
Reform will move the thresholds.
But to what?
To 20,000. Many millions, I'll give it to you, 20,000. Many millions of people who are on lower wages and pensioners will come out of fiscal drag and being stranded. How do we pay for it? $47 billion. Stop paying interest to ourselves on the printed money from quantitative easing.
Except, Alex Dean, from Reform UK, this is fantasy politics because they're probably only going to win one seat. We know where. So they can announce anything they like because they're not going to be in government.
Well, when David Beckham went to play football in America...
Yes.
He was the superstar player who was playing in a team of weekend players who were builders and pool cleaners in the week. He was the one star. That's Reform's problem. You've got Nigel, who'll do a fantastic job, but no one really knows what's behind him.
Are you calling Richard Tice a window cleaner?
A pool cleaner.
There you go. That was it. Well, listen, folks, that debate will rage on, no doubt. Of course, the Lib Dems would argue they've got plenty of momentum, and Labour argue that Britain is ready for a change. But next up, should Nigel Farage join the Sunak versus Starmer TV debate on the eve of the election? We'll debate that next.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Farmers across the country are inviting us all to learn more about food production and sustainable farming techniques.
It's an annual event organised by the farming charity Leaf, and it's aimed to show people really how food is produced in the countryside. Do you know, I'm a bit surprised about this. I would have thought the last thing you want is a load of, city types like us traipsing all across your farm and stopping production.
What will people learn, do you think, Colin?
That basically farmers are nice people and we produce good food. We don't mess up our food. It's the manufacturers that mess up our food. We produce very safe food and we love doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you guys keep going with the dedication you do. I know you love the land and you love your work, but you only have to watch Clarkson's Farm to see how hard it is for you. Maybe if we ordinary people appreciate what you do, you'll get a better deal from the politicians.
We won't talk about politics today, but but my view is that we love farming, we love passing on our skills and knowledge and showing people that we're nice people and not that's betrayed by the public. Clarkson Farm has showed how hard it is. That's the reason why we have Open Farm Sundays, to try and get some of these young people down on the farm to see where their food comes from. Where the milk comes from, where the beef comes from, where eggs come from, where chicken, their lambs come from. And they need to know and they need to understand Food production in the world is on a knife edge. We have politicians wanting us to grow wildflowers instead of food, but we want to grow food to feed the British public.
Yeah, and we've heard.
The People's Channel.
This Saturday, GB News invites you to witness the pageantry, the tradition and the unity. Join Ellie Costello and me, Andrew Pearce, in a celebration of His Majesty the King's official birthday. Trooping the Colour. Saturday at 10 a.m. on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Over here with a hijab.
Welcome back. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has taken to social media to demand a place in the final TV leaders debate on the BBC on the 26th of June, just days before the election. As they nosed ahead of the Conservatives in the polls this week, do Reform UK have a right to be there? What do you think about this, Alex Dyke? Should Nigel feature in a three-way rather than two-way debate?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A threesome with Nigel?
Absolutely. What a good idea. I think that if the others don't want him, I think that speaks volumes. And I think he should be in it because he is really the man of the people. He's got that same kind of thing that Boris had. And I think he should definitely be in it. And he's going to get 6 million votes.
I think you've all been drinking the Nigel Farage Kool-Aid. He's been in politics for 11 minutes, or at least the leader of Reform UK for 11 minutes. One good poll, and suddenly he's got equal billing.
Come on.
With Starmer and Sunak.
I completely disagree.
Come on.
You've lost the plot.
I've got to say I disagree
You're up
with
a gum tree.
Come on.
I disagree with my fellow panellists. I think that actually, look, I think Nigel is brilliant, and I think it's very, very clear that he's incredibly charismatic. But he is not offering, from a policy perspective, anything interesting, in my opinion. Nothing really radical. He's, again, charismatic, and I understand why people like him.
Is he a con-socialist?
He's not quite a con-socialist.
Is he a wet? Is he a one-nation Tory?
He's not quite as radical. He's not quite radical enough for me, in my opinion. What I will say is that I don't think he should be joining the debate, because ultimately the debate is between the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition, and he is none of those.
OK, but
Roger, for God's sake,
you're looking very excised over there.
I mean, what a load of nonsense. I mean, Nigel has 10 times the political background and history that our Prime Minister does.
But that's not what it's about.
He's run 7 times. He was the head of UKIP.
He's a serial failure.
Yeah, no, a minute ago you said he just got off the coach. Now you're saying he's, come on. He's got a long history. He represents a party that has just surged ahead of the Tories in the polls.
One poll.
But why
One poll. Which could easily be a blip.
It would be.
One swallow doesn't make a summer.
And why does that mean he should be allowed to enter the debate, and not the Liberal Democrats and not any other party? I mean, this really is a question of what's fair.
Exactly. Look at the footprints of the SNP in Scotland.
He's leading ahead of those other parties because they're all boring as hell. And
I'm with Dr. Rog.
And he's got something to contribute. We've had enough gaslighting from Sunak and Bates Motel Hunt and all the rest of them, OK? Let's hear somebody new who's got something to say.
All right.
He's not making noise. He does have substance.
But this isn't about us being entertained, Alex Dyke. This is about the two individuals who are fighting to be Prime Minister on July the 5th.
Yes.
And they've Keir Starmer could be Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak could be Prime Minister. Nigel Farage, not so much.
Not so much, but what he will do is his votes, You know, some people are saying if you vote, that's a vote for Labour. Let Nigel get the votes that he should get for his party, so they can build that party deserves.
But Alex, why are you getting so excited about one poll where they've got a tiny?
Oh no, because this has been building.
It's not just.
I mean, we say every week you can't believe the poll.
Come on, Mark. The poll is a symptom of what's been building up for a long, long time. It's not a flash in the pan thing.
If it was just one blip in one poll, all of the news channels would not be talking about it like you're talking about it.
It's gone so far. It's gone so far.
Nigel was expected to win in 2015. Imagine the embarrassment of the BBC if they platform him at the end of this month, and then he doesn't win in his given seat.
Different world, mate. No COVID, no wake. Pandemic, no Ukraine, blah, blah, but different times. Look,
and I think the BBC can take a little bit more embarrassment.
When Nigel calls me every day for advice, as he doesn't, if I were speaking to Nigel...
If he was wise, he would.
No, I do WhatsApp him, and he answers. And I would say, the one thing I would say to Nigel right now is, Nigel, stop talking about the election after this and giving the Labour 5 years or 10. Don't give them anything, because you actually might get there. That's what
He's talking about reality, and he himself knows that he isn't going to become Prime Minister on July 4th. He's very much so aware of the fact.
£5.
What, you think he...
just in case.
Well, you've clearly got money to bet.
But politics is about the future, and it's not just about this election. It's about the election after that and after that.
Oh, now that's the question I wanted to ask, which is I'm just confused on behalf of small c Conservative voters. You know, people that perhaps traditionally would vote Conservative who feel politically homeless. It seems to me that the sell from Reform UK is that we're going to give you a Labour government because that's how we somehow, destroy the Tories. But, I mean, you could have a decade of Keir Starmer in power. That's not very attractive to small C voters.
No, but I think what's really, and I do
That's
hear
why
your
he
point,
has to stop saying this.
I think what he is saying is that he acknowledges reality.
What is he saying?
Well,
I think he's making it up as he goes along.
No, I
think Farage is busking this one.
No,
I think he's aware of the fact.
I think this is back of a fag packet material here.
No, I think it's actually much more strategic than that. He is aware that on July 4th, if he's this entire election campaign been saying I'm going to be the next leader of your country, that's just not going to be the case. So what he's doing is he's preparing for that. He's preparing for opposition and preparing to be an alternative to the Conservative Party in opposition.
How in the world can you say that about Farage when you're talking about it in the context of two people who've been talking the most utter nonsense for so long that 40% turn out for the London mayoral election?
One of them's about to become Prime Minister, so they can't be that stupid,
Well, that's only because of this flawed system.
OK, and by the way, do you think that all of the parties should be represented at these TV debates?
Sure, why not?
At the end of June, it should be the Greens, the SNP, Plaid Cymru, Labour,
No, I don't want to hear from them. They're boring. I'm sorry.
Count Binface.
I don't want to hear from them.
Will want to hear from them.
No, so I think this is why we have multiple...
I want to hear Screaming Lord Such.
Isn't that a very... you don't want to hear from the smaller parties. Isn't that a sneering and arrogant thing to say?
Well, what I am saying is that there are multiple different
I've got a lot of Green Party viewers and listeners who are currently eating tofu, and they are raging.
Sorry.
They're spitting out their couscous
Green
at what
Party
you've had
viewers,
to say.
I'm
They're
so sorry.
spilling their tofu over
Don't worry, they won't like
they're
complain.
spilling
They don't
their,
have the energy.
They're spilling their tofu on their sandals, I know.
Enjoy your quinoa and avocado. But what I will say is that I think that the reason why we have different types of debates, we've got the full debate with every single party represented, as we saw the other night with Daisy Cooper representing the Liberal Democrats.
So you feel you've had enough mass debates for one lifetime?
Look, I think it's very simple. I mean, there are three people that have got some power and some skin in this game, OK? Sunak, Starmer, Farage. To invite the others is a waste of time.
I don't know. I think that Farage is being promoted beyond his position right now, Alex.
Well,
I think that's the point.
I think we've got to give
people are drinking the Kool-Aid.
I think we've got to give the guy a chance. And the trouble with these TV debates is, if you put
You're only saying that because he's a GB News presenter who's won another award, and he's coming after your show, and that's why you want to...
Oh, listen, I'll take him on. Yeah, Farage versus versus Dolan. I'd pay to see that.
The problem with these TV debates is...
Oh, I greatly admire Nigel. I just think it's inappropriate for him to be in the leaders' debates. He is not a serious contender.
But it just shows how much he's grown within weeks. Imagine if that was someone in one of the other parties.
I'm sorry, but
not
we
a flash in the
we don't organise...
He's doing this on purpose, Alex.
We don't organise...
What about me?
We don't organise electoral debates based on what the polls say. We have the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister going head-to-head. Nigel has no place there.
OK, well, listen, lots more to come. Should you reveal to your partner how you'll vote on July the 4th? And are weight loss injections a lazy shortcut? Plus, find out why skinny people are now paying for this jab and risking their lives. That's next.
Hello again and welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Further showers are expected over the next 24 hours and beyond, with prolonged rain at times, but also some clear spells in between the downpours. Low pressure is currently stationed to the west-northwest of Scotland, and around that low we've got a gusty wind bringing frequent showers into much of the UK, but also some longer spells of rain. One such area of rain affecting northern Scotland through the evening, and then another band of rain pushing into Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and the southwest during the early hours. So a lively night to come with some heavy rain at times and that gusty wind, but some clear spells as well. And where we've got the clear spells, temperatures dipping into the single figures or even the mid-single figures in some of the cooler spots, for example, central Scotland. But for the north of Scotland, we keep the wet weather going on Saturday morning, particularly for Shetland. Some outbreaks of rain there for Orkney. But for much of the mainland of Scotland, it's dry. Best of the sunshine of the day will be in the morning on Saturday. Thicker cloud into southern Scotland, northern England, and this band of rain just affecting parts of Northern Ireland into the Midlands, the southeast as well. Some heavy downpours before a mix of sunny spells and blustery showers push into South Wales and the southwest of England. That develops more widely across the UK, so really it's a case of bright spells and heavy showers out there on Saturday afternoon. You certainly will need your umbrella at hand if you're heading out, even if it's sunny when you leave the house. But there will be some longer spells of rain, particularly for northwest England, southern Scotland, for example. Even some thunderstorms out there. So an unpleasant day for many places, highs of 17 or 18 Celsius. Sunday starts off a little brighter and drier across England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland sees a band of rain push south. That breaks up to become more of a showery feature into the afternoon. And in between the showers, there will be some sunshine once again. A drying up trend then into Monday and Tuesday with fewer showers and a better chance of some sunshine.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians and the media, but it's actually about you. We won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear all sides
as you make your decision in the run-up to polling day.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's election channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said stump.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Today's Guardian newspaper, yes, we do read it from time to time, features 2 readers in a relationship who are endlessly fighting over politics. Husband Barry is a passionate Labour supporter who's keen to know which way his wife Mandy will cast her vote. Although undecided, she wishes to keep what she's going to do private, particularly because she's voted Conservative in the past. So should partners reveal their voting intentions to each other, and is having different political views a problem in a marriage? Roger Gewald.
As I was eating dinner before coming here tonight...
It's an early dinner.
Early dinner.
Was it something fancy? Because you are a business guru and the drinks are on you.
It was white turkey breast.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
With vegetables.
Did you get it stuffed this evening?
No, just plain sliced white turkey breast.
All right, fair enough. Family show, Alex. Behave yourself. We've all had a drink.
And my wife asked me what we would be what we would be discussing here tonight.
Yeah.
And I ran through the subjects, and when I came to the one that we're now discussing, I turned to her and I said, by the way, and then she interrupted me and said, are you voting for so-and-so? And I said, well, I am. Are you? And she said, no. I said, what? And she said that she's voting for someone else, and I didn't know that.
Right, so
I have personal experience
Mrs.
of this.
Gewolb, who, of course, you love very much.
Dr. Gewolb, we're both doctors.
Both doctors,
yeah.
OK. Have you seen her stethoscope?
No, she's a doctor of linguistics.
Doctor of letters, there you go.
Yeah.
She's the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, so her politics would appear to be different from yours. Is that a problem in the relationship?
No.
No, OK.
No.
What do you think about this, Alex? Let's talk about Barry and Mandy. He's a Labour supporter.
They sound like a couple of made-up names.
They don't sound real.
Can I also email a Lonely Hearts?
And they don't sound like Guardian readers, do they? Especially Barry.
They definitely read the Telegraph.
A carpet fitter from Middlesbrough. OK, but the bottom line is, the principle is that Barry is a Labour supporter. Mandy has voted Conservative in the past.
Yeah.
And he's pressurising her to vote Labour. That's not right.
Well, this sounds on the fringes like a bit of a funny story, but actually, Barry, this is coercive behaviour. And
Controlling.
this isn't a normal marriage as far as I'm
Absolutely.
concerned.
If I'd said anything, I wouldn't have gotten pudding.
Well, that's exactly right.
Exactly.
Well, at least your wife will put you in your place, you see.
And spare us the gory details of what pudding may look like, but congratulations. Alex, does it matter to you what your partner's politics are? Is it a deal-breaker for a relationship?
Well, it might be if you're both extreme in your views. But Reem said before the show started, and this is the most interesting thing she said all night, and it wasn't on air,
low bar,
which is a shame. But Reem said there's no well, she could say it. There's
right-wing
no
women.
right-wing women.
There are hardly. So I think it's really interesting. And to answer the question initially, I would never, ever date somebody that was left-wing. And
really?
I just can't.
Isn't that very intolerant?
Oh, my God.
Yes, I am intolerant.
I thought you were a libertarian.
I am a libertarian, and I've only ever dated libertarians.
This is why we should never have given them the vote.
Doesn't that contradict the idea of being a libertarian?
No, because
you're a libertarian, you don't care what they do.
No, Mark, that's not what libertarianism is.
It's live and let live, isn't it?
No, libertarianism is a view on government, and if you don't share that same view on government, I don't think you share my values, and I don't think I could be a long-term relationship with you.
But that means the only people you could potentially go out with are Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nigel Farage.
If they're watching... No, I'm joking.
Both happily
But you're
married.
basing your whole relationship, potential marriage, on politics.
Yes.
It should be based on love.
No.
It's based on
politics. Values.
What if Brad Pitt turned out to be a lefty, or George Clooney?
He probably is.
Like
I might make an exception.
There you go. We got to the truth. Let's talk a little bit, if we can, about a Mail newspaper report that a wave of young, healthy women are needing A&E care after taking appetite-suppressing drugs Ozempic and Wegovy. Bought online under false pretences, it comes as the NHS's top doctor issued a warning that these powerful drugs are only designed to help diabetics and the obese and shouldn't be abused to help holidaymakers become beach body ready. Emergency medics told the paper in confidence they're seeing cases of young, beautiful girls who are not overweight with complications from abusing Ozempic almost every shift. So what do we think about this? First of all, Reem, you are a young woman in your prime, very beautiful, perfect. You've got the beach body, it's there. But what do you make of some of the people your age getting injected to shave a couple of dress sizes down?
I think they're absolutely within their right to do so. And I think just within the wider perspective on this, Mark, Ozempic is a miracle drug. It is amazing. And effectively, if you are obese or you have diabetes, you are able to lose that weight. And we can't underestimate the impact that this has on people's health.
Yeah.
Now, your question
and the cost to the NHS.
And, well, I would get rid of the NHS, as you know, but I think that the wider perspective on this is actually that we are indeed reducing healthcare costs and actually, most importantly, allowing people to be healthier. Now, your question was about people that are already at a healthy weight,
correct.
and actually using Ozempic themselves. And again, I think that I'm not a doctor, but I do think it does sound to be dangerous. There are people, and we saw from this story today, there are people using the drug and overusing it and actually ending up very, very sick. And I think that's very sad. I think it's very easy to abuse those kind of drugs. And again, effectively, it suppresses your appetite to that point. So people are starving themselves. I think that's very sad. And I think everybody is beautiful in their own way, and we should be confident and healthy and happy.
OK, what a lovely answer. I feel like you're going to break into song in a second there. We're going to do a dance routine. Alex, let me ask you about these drugs. Is it a lazy shortcut, do you think, having a drug to get thin?
Well, I've got a friend who's on these. I'm saying this for a friend.
OK.
It's you, isn't it? You're the friend.
It's not me, but I phoned him earlier.
Can I just say that I've seen... can I just say I've seen Alex naked? He does not need Ozempic. No, that's not the kind of jab he's looking for.
He's a GB News viewer.
OK.
His name's Richard. He's watching with his wife tonight. He and his wife are on these.
Are you sure you shouldn't have done a fake name? Have you just outed the poor man?
I told him. I said, I'll give you...
By the way, not as an Ozempic user, just GB News viewer. That could be career-ending.
Richard, if I use this on air, I'll give you a mention.
Anyway, so what's Richard done?
It's £250 a shot, I believe.
OK.
They've been on it for just over 3 months.
As a couple?
He and his wife, as a couple.
So it's like a little date.
Couples
Go get your
do
Ozempic
things
shots.
together. And they've both lost 3 stone each.
Yeah,
now, Richard...
astonishing.
Richard wasn't... he probably was technically clinically obese.
Yeah.
But he's really, really lost a lot of weight. Now he says, I can get up, I can go jogging. What worried me is I said, what happens? He said, well, just don't get hungry. He said, but if I get up in the morning and I want to get a Mars bar and a packet of crisps for breakfast, I can. I'm thinking, Richard, I don't think that's what it was for.
Yeah, no, that's it. Well, look, well done, Richard. And what's his other half called? Well, you're not naming her, right?
I'm not going to name her.
Let's call her Mandy as well. Mandy too.
Mandy and Richard.
OK. What do you think about these medications? Because we know, Roger, don't we, that actually, if we take exercise and eat the correct food, we can get thin. Why do we need an injection?
Says you.
Well, my body's a temple.
What Ozempic does show is that if you stop eating so much, you lose weight. That's kind of the hard truth that people aren't really looking at. That actually the reason why people are obese is because they eat too much.
Roger.
Right. Says you, looking like you do. So, very much like my having just asked my wife who she's voting for, unlike my colleagues, I also have personal experience of this. I take these drugs.
You take your own Ozempic?
I put on a huge amount of weight during the pandemic.
Right.
As we all
As
did.
many of us did.
They wrote to me and said, this is lockdown, you must stay home, etc. Then they wrote to me and said, please stay in and watch telly, which I did. Then they wrote to me and said, eat, and eat some more, and eat some more. And so I followed the instructions, and I put on a hell of a lot of weight.
And also, let's not forget starting to drink at 4 in the afternoon.
Oh, yes, and
as well.
drinking.
Oops, or is that just me?
You can't eat without drinking. So I was on Ozempic for a matter of months.
After the pandemic?
Yeah, and I didn't lose anything. I then switched to the better drug, which is called tirzepatide. So you have Ozempic, which is under the name of Wegovy, and you have tirzepatide, which is under the name several, but the main one is Mounjaro. And that is what I'm taking. I've been taking it for several months, and I've lost 1 stone.
That's brilliant. Bravo.
So it's not a miracle.
And you look healthy.
Yeah, I'm very healthy, and no side effects. I have to say, the Ozempic, when I started taking it, I was really sick for a week or so.
Right.
While I suppose my body adjusted. But I mean, I don't intend to stay on them forever. But yeah, they are fine. And I think that anybody who looks like Mark Dolan, who puts that stuff into their body, is nuts, and if they get sick, it's not surprising because...
No, but I mean, I will say one thing, which is I dropped a couple of stone by following poor old Michael Mosley's diet plan, which is the Fast 800, you know, and that involves not eating carbohydrates, you know, and do you not think, Roger, that there is a sort of more natural way of doing it?
Okay, so I'm married to a woman who looks 20 years younger than she is, and she has...
Are you punching above your weight, Roger?
She's 4 years younger than me. She has a great figure. She has an apple for lunch, and she gives me an apple. And I say, you give, you know, and then she said, well, have 2. I mean, you know, she just doesn't eat.
I think you should get her on the show, Mark.
Yeah,
well, it sounds like it.
She doesn't.
What do
she
you think
doesn't
about...
eat. People like you and her don't understand people like me who can put on weight by looking at food. So my whole life I've gone up and down. I've tried all the diets.
There you go.
It always comes back. That's why Reem is right. This is something of a miracle drug. But if you stop taking it, the weight comes back. So you've got to be very careful.
Well, let me tell you, Roger Giwob, there isn't one thing we would change about you.
Oh, thank you.
Every inch of you is perfect.
Thank you.
Can I thank Roger
From
Giwob?
the bottom to the top.
Well, there you go. That would do it. Also, Alex Dyke and also the fabulous Reem Ibrahim. We're going to say goodbye right now to my fabulous, fabulous Friday friends. Because we've got some royal news next. That's right, an update on Princess Kate making a moving update about her cancer battle. More on that next.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Today, we've got a veteran who endeavours to help those suffering from anxiety in all its various forms and manifestations.
Yes, over 3 decades, Simon Lee has established himself as a pioneer, seeking new ways to coach personal development and mental strength.
Now, look, there's this famous phrase, isn't it, that hard times create weak men and weak men create hard times. Is that the kind of philosophy that your work is based on?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because as a child, I received a masterclass in how weak men create hard times.
Did you go through hard times as a kid?
We had 3 toxic men in the family, and they caused the family no end of grief, trauma and hardship. So, and at the time when you're going through it, you think, well, you can't help but fall into a victim mentality. You think, why me? Why am I going through this? But actually, I couldn't do what I do now without that masterclass.
Do you mind me asking who those men were?
Yep, it's fine. One of them was my stepfather.
Yeah.
One of them was my grandfather, and one of them was my uncle.
Right.
So they're all inner family members. And without exception, all of them, outside of the family doors, wanted to put themselves across as moral pillars of society.
How do you turn that story around and be the man that you are today and turn what you went through into a positive? How do you do that?
You've established that pretty much you can, choose to be a victim of your circumstance or use it as inspiration to do better and say, you know what, when I'm older, for example, if you had a bad childhood, I want to make sure my kids get the kind of childhood I didn't have. So how do you relay that to the people you mentor now, I guess?
What we do, I set up something called Unlimited Courage. We talk about giving men a primary aim of courage. So we bring in philosophies such as Stoicism, our own 7 Courages, Bushido, and they love it. They love it. And I must admit, when I found it, I felt like I'd found the Holy Grail.
Wow.
The People's Channel.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This Saturday, GB News invites you to witness the pageantry, the tradition and the unity. Join Ellie Costello and me, Andrew Pierce, in a celebration of His Majesty the King's official birthday. Trooping the Colour, Saturday at 10 a.m. on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, as you've just heard in the headlines, Princess Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has given an update on her health. Here's what she said. I've been blown away by all the kind messages of support and encouragement over the last couple of months. As anyone going through chemotherapy will know, there are good days and bad days. My treatment is ongoing and will be for a few more months. I'm looking forward to attending the King's birthday parade this weekend with my family and hope to join a few public engagements over the summer, but equally knowing I'm not out of the woods yet. She goes on, I'm learning how to be patient, especially with uncertainty. Thank you so much for your continued understanding, and to all of you who have so bravely shared your stories with me, Catherine. Well, for reaction, I'm delighted to welcome the Queen of US Royal Reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Now, I'm very excited because Kinsey is in the UK. Normally, she's with me on a Saturday night, live from California, but you are stuck in the London traffic. Welcome to the UK. It's the usual story. But Kinsey, listen, let's talk about this. Your instant response to this update from the Princess of Wales.
I mean, absolute joy, because this is something we've been debating every weekend on your show for the last month. When might we be able to get the chance to see her? And, you know, we got a lot of honesty from her and a lot of details that she did not have to give us. She said, I'm just going one day at a time. I have good days, I have bad days. And I think it's going to touch a lot of people that are also dealing with cancer in their family. And they're going to know exactly what she's dealing with. They're going to feel, you know, they're going to feel for her. And so many people are invested in her story and her success. And I cannot wait to see her tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Well, that's right. I mean, the attention on this woman at tomorrow's event is going to be intoxicating, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've already seen debates about what she might wear. You know, just she's a superstar. She's an absolute superstar. But people want to know that she's doing better. They want to know that she's doing well. And she is box office when it comes to the royal family. Polling-wise, she is the most popular member of the royal family, and we've absolutely felt her absence. We haven't seen her live and in person since Christmas, Mark. I mean, that's a significant amount of time.
Well, that's right, and we haven't looked at her beautiful face since that video in a park that she made explaining about her cancer diagnosis some months ago. What about this latest official photograph? I'm delighted to say that it doesn't look to have been photoshopped. It's the real deal. How does she look? What do you think of the image?
I mean, obviously, she looks like herself, and I think that that's, you know, a relief to a lot of people. She looks absolutely stunning. She looks at peace, and she does look like somebody that's focused on herself, her health, and her family. And, you know, I'm so grateful that she's been so candid over the last few hours with us.
Yeah, why do you think she's chosen that sort of portrait, that outfit, that look? She's in nature again. Is there a message underlying that image, which I suspect is going to become iconic?
Well, we've seen her in this outfit before, specifically with the kids. It's a casual look. You know, looking up at the sky, she looks pensive. I think that she's saying, I am peaceful. I'm figuring this out, and I'm doing things for myself. And, you know, it's a beautiful photo, and it is a little more casual than we expect from the royal family, but so was her verbiage. And I think that a lot of people are going to relate to it immensely. And I'm actually pulling up to your building right now. So hopefully I see you after the show, Mark.
Well, I really hope so, too. The message was bittersweet, though, wasn't it? Given the fact that she said she's not out of the woods yet. So we have to interpret that as being that she still has cancer. She's still fighting, Kinsey.
Yes, but also, Mark, I think she did not want all of the headlines tomorrow to be Kate's back.
Yeah.
And she didn't want the expectation to be that she's going to be thrust back into the limelight, working 5 days, 7 days a week, multiple appearances. We have to be realistic about what she's dealing with. We have to be realistic about the healing process. So she's going to be there to support King Charles tomorrow, absolutely.
Of course, we're inevitably we're going, Kinsey, aren't we, to analyse every word of the statement. My treatment is ongoing and will be for a few more months. There's definitely a chink of hope in that particular language, isn't there? That there's somehow the idea that she's going to complete her treatment within the year.
That's right. Well, also, I felt a little bit of hope when we got the message from the Guard as well, when she was apologizing for not being with the Guard, saying, you know, I hope to be able to represent you soon. You know, her objective.
Definitely. We just lost the line to you there. This will be joyful news for the King, of course, whose special day it is tomorrow, and for William, her husband. What a moment for him to have his wife back by his side. Now, we lost the line to lovely Kinsey. There you go. Listen, what a treat. I think a couple of seconds, because I'm delighted to say that Roger, Alex and Reem are still in the building because they were sort of basically hanging around in the green room looking for alcohol. This is great news, Alex, that we've heard an update from Princess Catherine. She'll be there this weekend.
Yes, and that press release, like everything else she does, is pure class.
Right.
She will be the darling of the celebrations tomorrow. The great British public are very warm and affectionate people in the main, and what can you say? She's just a class act.
Definitely, for a couple of seconds. I mean, this will obviously take public affection for her into the stratosphere, won't it?
Absolutely, and it's really interesting what Kinsey said about the fact that her outfit was so casual. I think it's part of the reason why the public love her so much. She feels like she's the people's princess, and I'm really excited to see her tomorrow.
Well, that's right, and the people's prince is Roger Gewolb, and Roger, the clock's against us, so I'm afraid we're out of time. In a sentence, in a word.
In a word, Mark Rowley better arrest anybody that disrupts us for 1 second or quit.
I'm back tomorrow.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Further showers are expected over the next 24 hours and beyond, with prolonged rain at times, but also some clear spells in between the downpours. Low pressure is currently stationed to the west-northwest of Scotland, and around that low we've got a gusty wind bringing frequent showers into much of the UK, but also some longer spells of rain. One such area of rain affecting northern Scotland through the evening, and then another band of rain pushing into Northern Ireland, parts of Wales and the southwest during the early hours. So a lively night to come with some heavy rain at times and that gusty wind, but some clear spells as well. And where we've got the clear spells, temperatures dipping into the single figures or even the mid-single figures in some of the cooler spots, for example, central Scotland. But for the north of Scotland, we keep the wet weather going on Saturday morning, particularly for Shetland. Some outbreaks of rain there for Orkney. But for much of the mainland of Scotland, it's dry. Best of the sunshine of the day will be in the morning on Saturday. Thicker cloud into southern Scotland, northern England, and this band of rain just affecting parts of Northern Ireland into the Midlands, the southeast as well. Some heavy downpours before a mix of sunny spells and blustery showers push into South Wales and the southwest of England. That develops more widely across the UK, so really it's a case of bright spells and heavy showers out there on Saturday afternoon. You certainly will need your umbrella at hand if you're heading out, even if it's sunny when you leave the house. But there will be some longer spells of rain, particularly for northwest England, southern Scotland, for example. Even some thunderstorms out there. So an unpleasant day for many places, highs of 17 or 18 Celsius. Sunday starts off a little brighter and drier across England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland sees a band of rain push south. That breaks up to become more of a showery feature into the afternoon. And in between the showers, there will be some sunshine once again. A drying up trend then into Monday and Tuesday with fewer showers and a better chance of some sunshine.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.